Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Vaughn Manor. And it is Epic Comic Book Wednesday, the world's finest team up between myself and Steve Donoghue's channel. Every week we'll talk about a certain comic book subject. I'll give my take on it. Steve Donoghue on his channel will give his take on it. And this week we're going to be talking about one of the weirdest supergroups to ever exist, and that would be the Doom Patrol. What a pack of weirdos these guys were. So the Doom Patrol, which was originally created by Arnold Drake and Bob Haney in 1963. The artwork in the original Silver Age run was done by Bruno Premiani, a fella who was kicked out of Italy, or ran out of Italy, because he was a political cartoonist, and Mussolini at the time, he wasn't too thrilled about that. So he ended up in the United States and he drew this comic book. And he did a very interesting job of drawing the Doom Patrol. I like his artwork. It's very different. It's a little strange, which is cool. You want it to be a little strange for this comic book because, like I said, this comic book is weird. So, a wheelchair-bound genius, this guy, the Chief, brings together a band of misfit superheroes. So this isn't the X-Men, of course. Our wheelchair-bound leader, our wheelchair-bound genius came out 3 months before the X-Men did, so there's that. But this guy, the Chief, brings together this band of weirdos and unhappy people, our depressed band of people with superpowers. And they want nothing to do with this whole Doom Patrol gig in the beginning. They're like, no, man. And it's understandable because they've got their own problems. We've got Rita there. She's the tall one. That's Elastigirl, Rita. She was a movie star. And during one of her movies, when she was swimming through a lake or stream or something, river. She was swimming in a river, and she came across something which changed her into the bizarre Elastigirl. Suddenly she can grow into a giant or become tiny or stretch parts of her body. She was Elastigirl, and people found that strange. And then we've got Negative Man there. Our poor guy Larry Trainer, Negative Man, who was a pilot who flew too high and came across some negative radiation, which crashed his plane and turned him into the horrific Negative Man. He was consumed by negative radiation, and he had to wear these special bandages all over himself to contain the radiation. And you want that, because this guy, he's a real freak show underneath these bandages, man. He's kind of scary and gross under there. And his one trick is that inside himself, he's got a Negative Man made of negative energy, which will shoot out of his body and, do superheroic things because it's got superpowers, his Negative Man. Problem is that when the Negative Man leaves Larry's body, Larry collapses. And if the Negative Man doesn't come back into Larry's body in 60 seconds, Larry will die. So you only have a limited amount of time for superheroics if you're Negative Man. And then, most important of all, we've got Robot Man there. Robot Man, who was Cliff Steele, who was a race car driver and daredevil, drove his race car too fast one day, got in a terrible accident, was mangled, he was going to die, but the doctors working on him said, oh, we know that genius guy, let's send him to the genius guy. And so they sent him to the genius guy, who turned out to be the Chief. And the genius guy built a robot body and put his brain in it, because his brain was fine, That's all you need in a comic book. So the brain was fine, and he put it in a robot body, which was not great for our guy, Cliff, because he basically lost his entire life, because now he's this clunky robot man. He's got a human brain, but the rest of him is this robot. He can't feel anything. He's very strong. He's pretty much invulnerable. He's taken apart all the time and blown to pieces all the time, but as long as his brain survives, he's good. He could always be repaired, and frequently he is. But, he's understandably bitter. because he's pretty much a monster now. And all of them are kind of freaks. So you have this band of bitter freaks who don't like what they have become. And the chief is like, hey, man, join my group. You can contribute to the society. You can help people. They're like, screw you, man. No, we don't want to do that. But he wins them over, and they do become the Doom Patrol. They have been doomed by fate, but they carry on. And they come across some of the most bizarre characters you'll ever come across in a comic book. They have very strange adventures. They face off against the Brotherhood of Evil. Now, in Marvel, in the X-Men, they had the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Here you have the Brotherhood of Evil. Coincidence? They face off. One of the Brotherhood of Evil is like this living brain, and another Brotherhood of Evil character is like a super intelligent gorilla. Because you always have to have one of those, a super intelligent gorilla. And it's very weird. There are some weird adventures here. I love the artwork actually that Bruno does because it looks so different. He's not the greatest artist in the world. But he's consistently strange, and this is supposed to be a strange book about strange characters, and I think that's why it was so popular. It was weird, but initially, at least for a while, it was very popular. You just have some of the most bizarre characters you're going to come across in a comic book in the Doom Patrol, and the Silver Age was a great run of a comic book. Eventually, they became less popular. And I think, uniquely, for a book that got canceled, they were killed off in the final issue. Spoiler alert for the Doom Patrol. They die at the end. Or do they? Yeah, they do. Except for Robot Man, who's pretty much indestructible. And Steve Donoghue has said that the Doom Patrol are basically loser superheroes. And they are. That's the whole point of their existence, is that they are losers, and they're loser superheroes. They accomplish their goals about half the time. But, that's their whole point. They're not your traditional superheroes. They don't want to be. That's not what this book is about. This book is about misfits and weirdos, and it's supposed to be strange. And it is. But dopey things happen in this book. And in the very last issue, they sacrifice themselves to save a town. And one of the reasons they're sacrificed is because Elastigirl is trapped in a net. I have to think that every kid who read this comic was like, can't she just shrink and walk out of the net? Oh well, they all died. They are all blown up at the end of this series. Boom! There goes the Doom Patrol. And so it was like, that's a very strange thing. And that's how this omnibus ends. The Doom Patrol are blown up. So they're superheroes for a while, but they're not superheroes. They're like they're kind of put in the positions to be superheroes, but they are so not superheroes. These are not the traditional superhero characters that DC did. They're not Superman or Batman or anything like that. They seem to exist in their own little weird world. Whenever any other DC Comics character encounters the Doom Patrol, it just seems strange to me, because they seem to exist in different planes of reality. And that sense of weirdness lasted to the end of this run when they are all killed. But they are brought back. The Doom Patrol was remembered fondly by a lot of fans who loved the initial Doom Patrol run because it was so strange and quirky and cool and fun. It was a fun comic book. So they brought the Doom Patrol back in the Bronze Age. This one has like a great cover. I love that cover. But in the Bronze Age, it didn't really recapture the magic. Robot Man survived. And, because if his brain survives, you just put him in a new robot body which they did, you can still have the Doom Patrol. Now that version of Doom Patrol only lasted like 3 issues. Then it was canceled. Then the Doom Patrol were in other people's comics for a while. And then eventually they ended up getting a comic book again. They had a Secret Origin issue that was drawn by John Byrne. Yeah, we got the Secret Origins issue by John Byrne there. John Byrne was a big Doom Patrol fan. He talked a lot about the Doom Patrol, so I got to figure he was pretty happy to do that issue. And after Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Doom Patrol returned, and they had this great cover for their first issue, the return issue of the Doom Patrol. That cover was probably the best thing about this series for a few issues anyway. It wasn't bad, it was okay, but it had new characters and it didn't really feel like the original Doom Patrol to me. But it did have some interesting artwork. Eric Larson did some of his earlier work in here. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the Doom Patrol of old during this period. Now, eventually, the incomprehensible Grant Morrison got a hold of that book, and it became the weirdest comic book you'll ever read, practically. His version of the Doom Patrol is so strange. He brought in even more new characters, including Crazy Jane, and it's just... I don't even know how to describe this book. It is probably the perfect book for Grant Morrison to write, because this version of the Doom Patrol, again, we have Robot Man. Robot Man is always in the Doom Patrol, but his adventures just take such a strange turn. I mean, this comic book, when you were reading this for the first time, you never knew what was going to hit you in the next issue, whether it was some interdimensional menace or just weirdness. It was one of those books that had a lot of weirdness for weirdness' sake. Very often it was incomprehensible, as you would expect from the incomprehensible Grant Morrison. But it worked. And this brought a lot of fans to the Doom Patrol. Because at the time, there was nothing else really like this. You had some of these great Boland covers. At the end of this omnibus here, which has the whole of the Morrison run, let's see if I can get to the back. Doesn't it have some Boland covers? Let me see, because maybe I'm just crazy. I thought I saw some Boland covers, some extra Boland covers back there. Oh, yeah. Here's some weird stuff going on here, as you can see. This take on the Doom Patrol kind of became a weird classic of strangeness. And so while it was a lot different, of course, than the Silver Age Doom Patrol, it was kind of successful in capturing what the book is, which is just a book about weirdos, these weirdo superheroes with all of these problems in a very strange super team. I mean, it was just weird. This was a great run. It's hard for me to describe this comic. It's the kind of thing that's so weird that you really have to read it to understand it. And I would recommend, if you ever come across his comics, whether it be digitally or in paperback, or if you already know of it and you want to buy a gigantic omnibus, it's really huge. It's worth your time. Eventually, he lost the Doom Patrol after that. It was taken up by other people for a while. Eventually, it was canceled. It's come and gone a few times since then. One of the more notable times that it's come back is this time when John Byrne got it, because then he rebooted the Doom Patrol and just forgot everything and just basically started over. with his version of the Doom Patrol. This is his, like, sort of omnibus. I don't think they'd call it an omnibus, but that's what it is. So they had like a soft introduction in the pages of JLA, which has some good stuff in it. And then the Doom Patrol come back, and you get kind of his version of the original Doom Patrol team, John Byrd's version of it. Again, it was lacking something, because he made the Doom Patrol into kind of a traditional superhero team. They weren't, I mean, it wasn't just crazy like the former Doom Patrol, Grant Morrison's incomprehensibly strange Doom Patrol. But that Doom Patrol was kind of original and interesting. This Doom Patrol, it was just okay. And it wasn't as weird as it should have been. It was part of the trouble with this is that while the artwork is great, it really is good artwork in here. John Byrne, you know, he doesn't usually let you down with the artwork, but in his writing, he usually does. There's always something off about his writing. But the artwork in here, in this book, is pretty good, whether he's drawing it or Terry Austin is drawing it. It's worth reading. It's just an interesting take on the Doom Patrol. He does sort of water down the Doom Patrol. For me, as weird as this was closer to the spirit of what the Doom Patrol is. And I think that's why, like, they came out with a TV show that took a lot from this particular version of the Doom Patrol. Because this is the Doom Patrol that I think that most people remember, is this one. Deservedly so. There have been a few other versions of the Doom Patrol. They're kind of hit and miss. There hasn't been really anything super special lately from the Doom Patrol. But you never know. They can come back. They're that kind of team. They'll be gone for a while. They'll come back. Sometimes they'll be good. Sometimes they won't. But it's an interesting supergroup. And I like them just because they're so bizarre. I particularly like the initial Silver Age stuff. To me, this is pure Doom Patrol. This stuff right here. This is the Doom Patrol that I really love. The original Silver Age weird stories of the Doom Patrol. It was such an interesting comic. So yeah, that's my take on it. You can go watch Steve's video and he'll tell you how bad they are. But they're not. They're awesome. Doom Patrol. So there you go. Doom Patrol. I'll catch you later. And my phone is ringing. Okay, I'll catch you later, guys.